Commission. We have a quorum. So the first item on the agenda is the review and approval of the January 8th, 2024 meeting minutes. Hear any comments on the minutes?
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion? All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Approved or opposed? The minutes are approved. All right. New business. The first application is for an addition at 4 Forest Place. Let's see. Are there representatives for, would you like to step up to the microphone and introduce yourself? And I didn't see your.
Good evening. I'm Derek Phipps. I live at 4 Forest Place with my wife and 2 kids. This is Travis Wilson from Wilson Custom Homes. He's the contractor we selected for the project.
Okay. You can say as little or as much as you'd like to about the addition before we go into discussion. You don't have
I
to.
could say a ton, but
Okay.
probably best just let Travis do it.
Okay, Travis, if you could introduce yourself.
I'm Travis Wilson. I'm the owner of Wilson Custom Homes.
Okay.
Derek and his wife Emily have basically they hired an architect to draw the addition. The idea here is to provide a family room and an enlarged kitchen. The house currently is just pretty chopped up in a lot of smaller rooms. Derek and Emily have lived in the house for many years prior to having kids. They're trying to grow roots and expand it in a way that they can just stay there. So that's really the spirit behind the drawings.
Okay.
The majority of the work was pushed in the back, knowing that it's a historic area. They didn't want to do anything in the front. Yeah, so that's really the.
Okay. I have 2 questions
Sure.
myself. Just on the foundation plan, if you
Yep.
could come up, step up so I could point to something. If you could go to the foundation plan. In between the existing, I believe this is the existing garage space and the new addition, will this area here be a floating slab where on the floor plan, if I can
Yep.
find out where that reference, I just didn't see any concrete works there. This mudroom, if you could go to the A1.2 and zoom in where the mudroom is on the left, there you go. On the foundation plan, I was just wondering what you were gonna do with that, or.
So absolutely, there's a little bit of a concern here. She drew it apart because we were concerned about how deep this footer is
Mhm.
in underpinning.
Mhm.
So I'm going to be totally honest. It depends on how this uncovers as we excavate it, right?
Okay.
In a perfect world, we're not disturbing this footer, and we're able to fill this back in with a like a compactable fill,
Okay.
and then just do a floating slab that will pin into both sides.
Okay, would you put a foundation wall between the two, or just let it,
I would do more of a grade beam there.
okay, okay.
Yeah.
All right, that was the only structural plan. And then the other question, I went and looked at the house today to see what it looked like from the street. There was no front elevation to see what it would look like once it was done, so.
Okay.
The reason I asked, I was concerned about the way this roof goes up above from the front. You would see the garage like this. Oh, where is the garage?
It's right here. So
Yeah,
she
you'd
draws
see a
it.
triangle.
She draws like a hip,
Yeah.
basically flowing back into that.
So from the front view, you'd see, in essence, from the other side, you'd see the roof just going up
It would like
with
poke
a
up
triangle,
like that.
a triangle sticking out.
Correct. Yeah, you'll have the flat line. This is a different
Mhm.
area, obviously,
Right.
but you'll just have a little
Triangle.
flat.
Right.
Yep. And she had debated making it decorative and siding, or maybe like a vent or something.
Yeah.
She drew it as a hip
Yeah.
because I don't think she really was confident on how much clearance there would be.
Yeah.
Right. If it ends up being taller, I think the idea was to do some kind of a gable vent or something that would match the other area of the house.
And Mr. Green mentioned a point in review that the angle of this, it looks like you mirrored that angle to get the same pitch of your
Correct.
pitch. So my bottom line, I wanted to see the north elevation, or the frontal elevation, but when I went to look at the house, I see that's the way that the house sits at an angle. You won't really see that very visibly. So had a lesser of a concern personally, so
Yeah.
that was all. I had.
Gotcha. Yeah, and all the siding and everything is drawn to match existing.
Right.
So it may be like a fiber cement material, but it's all going to design-wise match existing.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions from the commission?
Is the existing siding, is that fiber cement?
No, it's cedar shake. It's old. It's, you know, one of the,
And that's remaining?
on the front of the, everywhere else in the house it is, yeah.
So then the new shingles would match that, is that what you're saying? They would be a cedar shake, or they would be,
Fiber cement, one or the other, but it would be the idea to stick with the shape, to stick with the style of siding. Yeah, the actual material itself, a lot of times we allow the client to shift into like a more maintenance-free material if it's similar in look. Obviously, that's not, I mean, that's the historic committee decision, not mine, but that's what we typically do.
As long as it's similar, we don't have a and it's not vinyl, we have metal.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, we don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, our code says that additions must be compatible with the
Right.
existing building's
Right.
massing, size, scale, materials, and architectural features, but not that it has to be the same.
Okay.
and then the windows that you're showing for the addition, there's really not a lot of information on them.
Right.
What is the material of the windows?
Wood window?
And then it shows as dividing light on those. Is that a service applied, true divided all the way through? What was called out on that? There's no information.
Yeah, that's not, so, sorry. Normally, that's something our clients would select when they go to the window manufacturer. Currently in their house now, they have the actual true divided light. So I think the architect drew the SD, the simulated divided lights, to try and mimic what.
So different companies define simulated divided lights differently.
Okay,
The way we define it and what we would like is
Spacer.
yeah. They put two panes in with a spacer in between, and then a grid both outside and inside that are fixed.
Correct.
Not removable.
correct. Yep.
Okay.
Yep,
So
I'm
that's
with
it.
you.
The only other thing I would say is that you don't have to have wood. You
Okay.
can either do aluminum or fiberglass.
Okay,
Because today's wood windows don't hold up very well.
yeah. And I think some of that, if we can find an option with the simulated divided light in those, absolutely. Yeah, we'll definitely investigate that, yeah.
Everybody says, well, they only cost a few dollars more for the
Composite.
spacer in between.
All the spacer, yeah,
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 it's only like $10 a window.
yeah. Yeah.
$5
It's a great
pane.
look,
Yeah,
to be honest.
it gives you much better depth. But we also want to help you because if you put wood windows in and they'll start to rot in a few years.
Yeah, and to be clear, if I did a wood window, we typically don't do the wood exterior.
Okay.
I've only done that once in Wyoming
so-
when they kind of forced it
Okay.
upon us. We typically would do a wood interior with a clad exterior,
Yeah.
like a Marvin or a Peller and Anderson
Yeah.
is what I would
That's
normally
exactly
use.
what we're looking for.
Okay, yeah, sorry.
That's okay.
And then in regards to the doors you have shown, are those,
The exterior doors?
yeah, the exterior ones?
Yeah, the patio doors were drawn to match the windows, so it would be the same product, an Anderson Pella, some kind of a wood interior, clad exterior.
Okay.
Some, if it has a divided light, it would match.
Okay.
I usually get those from the same manufacturer, so it's all consistent.
Okay, and then the molding around the exterior of the windows, it looks like it's attempting, and that's not a complaint.
Sure.
It looks like it's the profile and everything is to match
Yeah.
the
yeah.
moldings of the original windows.
Yeah. To be fair, I usually don't put too much pressure on the architect to draw. Like on a project like this, we just match the existing.
Okay, great.
So I'm not sure exactly what she drew. My expectations.
It
match
looks
with
like it matches from photos,
that. Okay.
but not a lot of detail to them. And then you're keeping the existing roofing, original shingles, and just trying to match them, or is it all new shingles?
Not the whole house.
Okay.
No.
Well, we had a new roof put on maybe 5 years ago, so
Okay.
the shingles are pretty new.
Okay, great.
Any other comments from the commission? Before we open it up for a motion, are there any comments from the public, neighbors, anyone? Okay, seeing none, I would entertain a motion.
I would make a motion to approve as submitted with the comment for incorporating the windows as explained and the details to match the existing structure. Yeah. That's it.
I'll second.
Okay. First, having a first motion second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I appreciate your time.
Okay.
Thank you.
So it was windows. Let's see. The second item on the agenda this evening is 68 Washington Avenue. Bear with me, I've got to find names because of this new cover sheet I'm not used to.
My name is
Leslie
Edwards.
Edwards. Oh, hi Leslie. Mr. Edwards.
How we all doing today?
Pretty good. We've seen your application and
Back a little bit. I'm sorry, sir.
we've seen your application and the description from the engineer, so if you'd like to say as little or as much as you'd like.
I just want to say I purchased the property back in June of '23. Our initial design was to do a whole house renovation and put my daughter in. It took over 3 dumpsters to clear out the house. And once we got a true picture of the condition of the house, the first thing I did was there should be a copy of
yeah.
report from GEI.
That's in there.
And I already knew there was issues with the foundation, but it really woke me up. And with my conversation with I can't remember the gentleman's name, he's like, your biggest issue is that stone foundation, which was evidenced last week when I had Rainbow Environmental come in to do inspection. That there was a reason when I purchased the house, they had pallets in the middle of the basement, because that was just the perfect height to avoid stepping in the water. And so between the foundation issues as well as the neglect, and I'm not sure if you all are familiar with the property, the previous owner father lived it and he passed away back in, I believe, 2011, and the house turned into, frankly, a storage unit for the siblings. And so there had been no maintenance. One of the things besides the clear out in the fallen garage I had to deal with over the summer was the amount of trees, branches from the dead trees around it falling on it. And so all the gutters were compacted with debris that I guess turned into mulch, which in turn they I believe I was told 6 or 8 years ago, they put a new asphalt shingles on it, but all the water got underneath it. And as a big guy, I'm on top of this roof like, I think I need to get off of here because I believe there's woodborne insect issues as well as water issues. In addition to Rainbow Environment coming by last week to give me, I knew what kind of hazards they're in. It's not in there. I just
Okay.
Amen. I forgot to send it to Spencer. There is class 2 asbestos on the siding underneath the aluminum that I'm going to have to remove as part of demolition, as well as there's about 50 linear feet of insulation around 4 sections of heating duct. Yeah. And then I think I mentioned that. I think I put Evans proposal in there. They're going to do it for about $20,000, and the environmental Rainbow has given me a quote around $4,600 plus the $450 for the inspection. So the job will be roughly around $25,000. And once we have the house demo, I'm looking right now to contract with Monarch Homes, and we're going to work, and ideally we're going to try to keep the same footprint, because I believe it's around 1,900 square feet that the property is, and so we will keep it under. It all depends on, we're on a budget. My wife and I are going to be retiring in the next 5 to 8 years, and so we're not trying to build a $500,000 house. And so so our hope is the first phase, when I come back to you in April, is that this is the house we want, that you like the design. I printed, I believe there's like 482 pages of the historic, just to see. And there's some things I did have questions for, which I I talked with Spencer. He said if you send an email, I'll disseminate it to the right people. Because couple of things I noticed just walking the neighborhood. In the book, it says no glass blocks. I'm seeing glass blocks. Garage doors facing the street. Ideally, the home that we're looking to mimic, and I might be wrong on the address, but I believe it's 3 houses west, which I believe is 74 or 76 Washington, which is a fairly newer construction, and the gentleman's real nice. Apparently he is a carpenter superb. I met him back in July, and so we're not looking for 2 stories. Again, we're trying to, as we age, our goal is to keep everything on 1 foot.
Sure.
And I will say, one of the things that we did want to do, what our initial plan was, we were going to rebuild a house and then come back and ask if we can do an ADU where the garage used to sit. But again, that is, once we feel comfortable with the current house and affordability, we'll come back at that time and ask for that. But that's essentially it, my story.
Okay.
David, on the front with the code reference within the historic overlay district, is that the original historic district or the expanded historic overlay district?
That is the overlay district that the planning commission has jurisdiction within.
Okay.
So the 93 district.
Okay, thank you. All right, so, understood.
Well,
Question?
go ahead.
Well, I was just going to thank you for the very detailed explanation of the conditions and your plans, and explain that there are 5 conditions under which we can allow demolition. And condition number 5 is that non-contributing buildings may be demolished if the demolition will not adversely affect the character of the district. And this building is a non-contributing building. And although it was built in 1910, it's been very much altered. And as you explained, it's very deteriorated. So I think we can allow the demolition under that condition number 5.
Looking at the construction of the basement and looking at all the different types of supports they have in there, I actually wonder if there wasn't a house there before that, where that was taken down partially and then.
If we go by the basement, it looked like they extended the west side of the house from the
Yeah.
original house.
Yeah.
And I believe it was truly, it was characterized as a farmhouse. That was a true farmhouse.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, before we have a motion, any other discussion?
I just want to say I applaud you for going to the extent of bringing the engineer to fully assess it from a professional standpoint, since, I know I haven't been through the building, so I appreciate that professional
No.
opinion.
It was your 482 pages that I was like, if I come here, I just can't come with opinions. I have to come with facts.
It was interesting when I went on the auditor's website. 68 shows up 3 different properties.
That is true. It is true. It's if I remember correctly, it's roughly a acre of land, but it's so patched that majority of it is behind the 2 houses
Yes,
to
2
the
houses
west.
down.
Which I found out in August that there was actually an easement road that I can survey that part of the property.
Yes.
Right now, my intent for everything there is to just leave it right now. Again, everything is about affordability, and just to let you know, I was the listing agent for almost a year and a half, and we tried every measure, and I had listing agents and investors reach out to David or Spencer, and the previous owners wanted someone to build a subdivision there, but based on everything I read in there, it would be hard. As someone told me, the criteria for any house to be built in the village, it has to face the street, and so it requires to have a private road, and all it takes is one person to say it won't fit the area, that it would be denied. And so a lot of builders said, no, Les, we don't want this unless you can buy the house we can buy the house to the left, to the right of it. And so that's one of the reasons why it's set for such a long time.
We have allowed houses to be built behind other houses. If you go to Linden Lane,
Yeah.
you'll see 3 houses that are lined up right, fairly new houses with a private road.
Now, are
Well,
those
the-
in the district?
No,
I mean,
that's
historic
not
I
district?
want
entirely
to
correct.
clarify that
Yeah,
the way the lot is configured, the 3 lots are configured. One of the 3 has public street frontage. The other 2 do not.
All 3 do. Or, go ahead, the cul-de-sac? all
Oh, I'm not
3?
talking about Linden. I'm talking about this property, 68.
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, but the reference,
Um,
he was.
in
Wayne was
order
giving-
in order to construct any, or in order to proceed with construction on the backside or the flag part of the lot, it would need to be consolidated into one lot.
Got it.
Our zoning code prohibits the establishment of flag lots, which is where Linden was permitted, because it is a flag lot. So because flag lots can't be permitted or aren't permitted, then there's no, without a variance, and there's no guarantee in that process. Without a way to consolidate those lots, then there's really very little opportunity to do anything besides what it sounds like you're proposing.
Okay. Any other commission comments before I open it up to the public? Your comments from the public? Mr.
Somebody had their
Parrish?
hand up before.
Don't we usually have a motion before that?
You don't mind introducing yourself for the secretary?
Bill
Clerk.
Parrish, I'm Executive Director of the Eckstein Cultural Arts Center in Glendale, also historian. I want to come before preservation today because 4 years ago I was here when they were demolishing the parsonage at 35 Coral Avenue, and the deacons and the trustees were here. I made a presentation about, as an appeal to save the property because it was significant, although it was considered a contributor to the village, it was significant to the black community. That didn't go very well, so it's demolished. The plan was that it would be a park for the late Reverend Waldrop, who was the pastor there, but that hasn't happened. So today I felt that I needed to come and address another structure that this at 68 Washington Avenue, which my cousins bought that house when we came north from Statesboro. They settled here in Glendale, and that was the original house. Mr. Littles died probably 7 years ago, and then the house got to this state. But I wanted to address it from the standpoint from preservation. The house next to it is significant, or actually I would say pivotal to the village because it was built in 1856. And so this house is right next to it, and if you look at the original maps of Glendale, going back to 64 and 68 were kind of intertwined properties in that. So I wanted to say to preservation that if you would look into the depth of these demolitions that are taking place in the black community, I think we're trying to make what our properties are significant to the overall of Glendale. I think we're failing miserably in trying to get the village to see the significance of these properties and working more in conjunction with the community to try to find ways that we can save these properties or renovate these properties. We have a couple more properties on Jefferson. I'm sure will probably come up at some point. And so I wanted to bring this to council, to preservation, to say, hey, can you look closer at this before you do another demolition to another property? And I think that the really good example of that was the Coral Avenue property that we raised, and that could have been saved, and it could have been really something that could really contribute to the village of Glendale.
For this property, have you had the chance to look at the engineering drawings and the state of decay of the property?
Yes,
And do you
Yes.
object? Do you feel that it's not such that it meets the conditions in the ordinances for demolition of a unsafe, deteriorated property?
yes. And I felt the
Based
same way.
on-
I felt the same way about the Coral Avenue, at 35 Coral. I
Right.
expressed that. I came
I
and did
remember.
my homework
Mhm.
on that, and I think that that was kind of bypassed, I would
Mm-hmm.
say, because I don't think we had any real discussion around it, and I think that it was foregone conclusion that it
Well,
was going
that's
to be
the past.
demolished.
And we did have an engineering review of that structure before we approved it based on the ordinances on the books. So it's similar situation here. We have a deteriorated home. The cost of renovation and restoration is prohibitive. And under our ordinances, the way they are set up, it is justified if we find that it is based on the ordinances. And the owner cannot be held accountable to do something with his property other than what he's here to apply for this evening, which is the demolition, because it's so deteriorated.
Well, I'm only here
But I
today
appreciate your
I'm
point.
only here
Yeah.
to remind preservation that as I look through preservation standards,
Mm-hmm.
that I think that preservation has to take a deeper look into what it allows to be raised and what it can actually save or work harder to save,
And-
to preserve.
I agree, and that's what we're doing here this evening.
Okay.
So, thank
Well,
you.
and I also would like for preservation to look into the property that's next to it, which
Well,
is 64.
That's not on the agenda this evening.
Oh, no, I'm not.
Just this
I'm
one.
only
so-
raising that because
Mhm.
the history, this is what I just want to
Is it?
battle with the Eckstein School, and it was about history. So I
If-
think this is African-American history in this village, and I wanted to come here tonight to express my strong thoughts about how
Sure.
that, to really look deeper into it before.
Do you own the property next door?
Do I own the property next door?
The one you referred to, the property next door? Do you own that one?
No, I know who owns it though.
Okay. Well, I think if it comes up for review, or if you want to discuss it with the owner, I think that'd be a good thing. If you're concerned about demo by neglect, if a property is deteriorating by neglect, we have what is the
We have code
code
enforcement.
enforcement officer that you can talk to, David at the office, express your concerns, and they'll go check it out.
Yeah, it's not my concern. My concern tonight was just to come and express that there are raises and there are things that are being torn down in
Sure.
the black community. And I
Right.
want to just make that point that I think preservation could do a better job of just being aware and a better job of not just looking to raise a property that's in the black community that's
Understood.
significant.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other?
Well,
Would you
I
like to-
think there needs to be clarity about the legal basis for approving this, because it is not listed as a contributing building. Its status is as a non-contributing building, and I think that the condition of it, the unsafe condition, is an aggravating factor, but we're really addressing it under the condition 5 because it's non-contributing.
And any motion would be based on the.
Yeah, and we can't go beyond what is legally in our code, so.
Right. All right, is there another additional discussion from the public
Yes.
concerning this specific application for demolition?
Concerning the actions of the GHP. My name is Kevin Parrish, resident of 176 Washington. On the subject of pivotal properties.
This one is not a pivotal structure.
I'm
This is a
just
contributing
saying
structure.
that,
So if we could limit the discussion to
Was
the
uh,
application at hand,
Was the Extant
please.
Cultural Arts School, was that, was the
we're talking about 68 Washington, sir. If you could just keep your comments
My comment
related
is to the
this
actions of this committee,
one at a
which
time.
never seems to have any preservation categories for the black community on any level. Any level. They're consistent in their position about anything in the black community can be torn down. Disturbs me because I'm a taxpayer here. For 100 years we've been here paying taxes and we don't see any improvements. But yet you guys rule over what can and cannot be. And nothing that we have in the black community seems to be sacred enough to be saving.
Do you have anything specific to
Yes,
68
it
Washington,
disturbs me
please?
as to your consistent selectiveness in the black community of always having a negative reaction.
We're not the ones that initiated this application.
I'm not
This
talking
owner-
about, I'm not even talking about
the
this
owner
application. I'm talking about your
initiated
decision
it.
making on anything that says GHP.
Kevin, we have to make decisions based on the law
Code.
and the code.
Really?
And that's what we're doing. He has a right to ask to have this taken down.
It's his property.
Right.
Right.
And
We
we
didn't have a
have
problem
to,
when Denny had the school for
so
3 years and did nothing.
if
and
you
no
want
code or
to, if
nothing
you
was
want to
done.
change
Can
it,
we- Tom,
then
Tom, go ahead, please, Randy.
I'm looking for
What we
consistency.
have to do in this
I
situation.
don't have a problem with this man
Let
not
the
wanting to
That's
invest a
fine.
lot of money in a
What we-
building that's
Let-
been ravaged by water because we have
Please let this
devastating
guy.
water issues in this
Mr.
community that they haven't
Mr.
addressed.
Parrish,
Of course
Mr.
we got
Mr.
no
Parrish,
issues.
Mr.
I don't have a
Parrish,
problem with that.
Mr. Parrish, I appreciate your concerns. The whole committee appreciates your concerns. The chair asked for comment about this particular application, not anything in general, just comments about 68 Washington Avenue. I think you've made your point. It goes beyond 68 Washington Avenue, but.
Well, when you talk
unless-
about
unless-
68
No,
Washington-
unless you have anything
When you're
else
talking about
specific.
68 Washington Avenue, my brother already gave
Okay,
the relevance of these are some of our people, our relatives.
that's fine, but.
Okay,
is
that
there-
own that, but
Is there
now-
anything else you have to say pertinent to the application for 68 Washington?
Yeah, I think it's real disturbing to me that although you have nothing else to do but sit on your ass until these few comments.
Please
you
keep
made.
it
Now
up.
that's, I think you're getting.
I'm
into
just
some-
telling you like it
No, you're
is.
getting
I'm not
into some
gonna be
inappropriate
soft-spoken to a
language.
bunch of fools that we have to keep addressing
Mr.
that don't
Parrish,
have a lack of
You don't
concern
have to
about
stay
what
in
we're
it.
Mr.
saying.
Parrish, there is a concern about what you are saying. However, I'll remind you again, any public comment needs to be related strictly to 68 Washington. You're speaking in generalities, and I'm going to have to ask you to please take your seat.
68, when I looked at 68 Washington, and I seen how long the structure behind it, which was farmhouse or whatever it was before they tore that down, I didn't see any code enforcement tickets being put on it.
It's not being torn
No,
down because of the
This was before they
condition.
removed
That's
that.
not the
That's
purview of
irrelevant.
this committee, and you know it.
I move
So-
approval of
Okay.
the,
Of course, we already know that's
We
gonna,
already-
we already knew what was coming. We just came to
Second.
make a comment on the
Yeah.
record.
motion and
We
second.
don't have any doubts of how you're gonna approve
Thank you
stuff
for your
in the
comment.
black community.
We have a motion
one
and a
bit.
second on
I
the
don't.
floor. If there are any other comments, I'd call for a question. If you're, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oppose? All right, Mr. Edwards, your motion is approved. You'll see David for any demolition permits or less.
We'll be in touch. Thanks, sir.
All right, the final item on the agenda, 320 East Sharon, a fence. You like to, seen how we work, if you could come up and state your name for
Yeah.
the clerk.
My name's
please.
Andrew Wiest. I live at 320 East Sharon Road. My wife and I just welcomed our first child. As we look toward the
Congratulations.
future, thank you. As we look towards the future, we want to build, a house that's safe for the kid. Right now, the fence is on one side. It's in shambles. There's trees growing in between it. It takes about 30 minutes on a riding lawnmower to cut my grass. It takes about an hour to cut back the stuff on the fence. So that's just been really hectic. There's several trees on the fence line. It's quite the undertaking for two young professionals. But we want to stay in the community. We love Glendale. We had a tree company come out. They're going to cut down the fence line on both sides. I talked to all the neighbors just so they're aware. Then we have a fence company looking towards the first week of April. So again, we're trying to grow into the home with our family. We love it here, and so we just would like to continue to upgrade the property so it is a contributing house to Glendale.
Okay, thank you. Any comments from the commission, please?
No, I think the fence is an appropriate design and material. What's the height of it? Is it 4 feet?
Yeah, so we wanted some privacy just with the fact that there's the brewery, 2 houses to the left, and just having kids, we want some privacy around the house. So it's about 4 feet past the garage. We'll have privacy fence, which is 6 feet tall, and then the rest of the property will be Kentucky board. The reason for that is it was so expensive to do entirely of privacy fence, so it just felt right to get our privacy closer to the house and be able to let the kids run around and let the dog off the leash. So yeah.
Okay.
So with the plan the way this is, with the house, is the house set back or is the house right at the street?
The house is at the street.
So the privacy fence is closer to the street, meaning, and the split rail is at the back of the property?
Correct.
Yes. And then the fence doesn't start till the back side of the house.
Correct.
The house is set back from the street.
Correct. I just didn't know if the split rail was up at the front, like where the road is and
No.
parking, or if I'm looking at the backyard.
behind the house.
Yeah.
The backyard would be where the
Yeah.
split rail is, so we have some privacy up close.
Yeah.
Just with the, like I said, the brewery being to the left, we want to have some privacy for the kid.
Do you live next to Steve French? On your left?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
And he's, I believe, he's been helpful because I was talking to him, and he said that he's gonna look into getting a fence so it matches on his side as well. Just a gate, I meant.
Nice.
So I'm not sure if he should have been at this meeting as well. That was kind of the last second thing that he said. But I'd like for him to get one that's matching as well, because again, the metal fence is in horrible condition, and I want something that looks nice.
There's nothing good about that chain link fence.
So from the house towards the back, how many feet of privacy fence will there be?
So it's about 96 feet on both sides.
Okay, that's the way it's
Yeah.
set up. I got it.
It's a
Okay.
really long and narrow yard.
Yes.
So
I looked
yeah.
it up on Cages or on the auditor's side.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So a quarter of it will be, or a little over a quarter will be privacy fence. The rest of it would be Kentucky board.
Yeah.
I have no problem. Just as long as you understand that the good side of the fence has to be out
Mhm.
and the
Yeah, we
posts are
have
the end.
Eads Company, their fencing company is helping us out.
Yeah.
We had a few contractors, but I wanted to make sure that we were going with a quality company that's going to do it right.
Yep.
There were markings in the back as far as where the property goes to. The fence on the right side, Betsy's on my right, there were posts where the old fence was on that side as well. So they'll be easily, able to follow those lines.
Okay.
There's also a really bad dead tree, like right on the property behind me. I went and talked to that neighbor to make sure that he knew. He was more than happy, of course, but he knew that we'd take that down, just so it doesn't fall. I'm honestly, with all this wind, I was thinking one of these days it's gonna fall before the fence, but I don't want to build something and
Right.
a week later it falls on it.
Did you have the property surveyed before you bought it?
I did not. There are markers in the back.
Okay. So if you have markers on the 2 corners in the back, then, and because it's a squared off piece of property, you'll be fine.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what the guy from Eads had said. I have no problem if there's a concern there to get it surveyed. We're just looking before all the green stuff starts to grow like crazy to
Yep.
take care of the fence line.
Are you planning to paint it or stain it?
Not probably for upkeep, but as of right now, no. I've also talked to Betsy just on her side. I want to make sure she's got quite the garden there. So I told her, and we had a conversation about maybe going like a foot into her property so I could easily help her with maintaining that side as well, if that's okay.
So one other question I have is, if I'm looking at this, is
Yeah.
the garage in the back right corner?
The garage is it's kind of like where the 96 on the left side is. That's kind of about where the garage is.
Okay.
That would be something. Again, I haven't looked at the code as well. That would be something kind of in the future as well. That garage is in shambles. There's a 2x4 holding up the center joist. The roof is just about caved in, so that would be maybe our next project, but that's like a year out. Again, we want to do everything to make the property look beautiful. We plan to be here for a long time.
Good. All right. Any other commission
Let's do
comments?
One question, the material on the 12-foot section from the house to the fence edge or the side yard. 12-foot section, each side has a gate that's what, 4 feet? with
4 feet on the
two
one, 11 feet or 12 feet on the left side.
For the gate?
Yeah.
What is that material? Is that? the-
It's gonna be wood as well.
Okay.
They're gonna probably have to do some sort of like, metal so it can pivot easily.
Is it the Kentucky board at that point, or is it
No,
privacy?
privacy. Yep.
Is that's okay? Okay.
It's behind the Any other comments from the commission? Any comments from the public? It's the public. All right, thank you. Entertain a motion, or did I already hear one?
I move that we accept the proposal as submitted.
Second.
Second. Have a motion, a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you, guys.
Motion carries. Thank you, sir. All right, that concludes the new business review. We have other business. Is there any other business?
I have no others.
Anyone? All right, an adjournment. Motion is entertained.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
All's in favor? Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.